First of all, I'm not dating Kevin Costner. I've known Kevin Costner for probably 30 years, and I think if we haven't dated so far, we're probably not going to.
Who would have thought this would be when Sharon Stone finally let it all out? After years of keeping things close to the chest, she just dropped a truth bomb that has people doing double takes. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just raw honesty. And trust me, this is not one of those recycled Hollywood tell-alls. This is personal. It is bold, and it is leaving fans and critics in absolute shock. The reveal that makes you pause and say, wait, what did she say? You are going to want the whole story because once you hear what she admitted, you will never see her the same way again. Long before red carpets and flashing cameras, a little girl grew up in Mobile, Pennsylvania, a town so quiet you could hear your thoughts echo. Sharon Stone was not the girl everyone expected to become a Hollywood legend. She was the second of 4 kids in a working-class family. Her mom Dorothy juggled numbers and the household while her dad Joe spent his days shaping steel parts as a tool and die maker. But Sharon, she was different from the start. While other kids were stumbling through their first words, she was already forming sentences. When most toddlers were still waddling, she walked and talked like she had fast-forwarded childhood. At school, it was not long before people noticed something unusual. Her brain worked differently. Books became her world. Conversations with adults came more easily than playground games. Her IQ was 154, but brilliance is not always a blessing, especially when you are a child. Kids her age did not know what to do with her, and she never really fit in. She was not the popular girl. She was the one people watched from afar, unsure of how to connect. That kind of loneliness leaves a mark, the kind that does not always show on the surface but stays somewhere deep inside. And while she might have had a mind that could move mountains, life at home was not always soft and supportive. There were hard days, quiet struggles, moments she never talked about until now. Sharon Stone did not grow up with red carpets or designer dresses. Her life started in a small crowded home where money was tight and every dollar had a purpose. With 4 kids under one roof, there was never much room for extras, just enough to get by. Her dad worked long, unforgiving hours in a factory, and her mom wore herself thin juggling whatever she could to keep things from falling apart. Sharon watched it all happen. She saw how her parents carried the pressure in their bodies, silence, and tired eyes. And somewhere along the way, she made a promise. I will make it alone. But money was not the deepest wound she carried. Behind closed doors, something much darker was happening. Something she did not fully understand until she was older. Sharon was just a little girl when her maternal grandfather began abusing her. Someone who should have protected her became her worst nightmare. The trauma was so deep her mind did what many do in survival mode. It erased it. It pushed it far, far away until it started leaking out years later in therapy. When she finally spoke her truth in her memoir The Beauty of Living Twice, it was like opening a wound that had been stitched shut too tightly. She did not just speak about the abuse. She revealed the constant death threats, the fear, the silence. Even though she shared a room with her sister Kelly, Sharon felt miles away, alone, terrified, and unable to reach for help. She wore that pain like an invisible weight for years. And then her grandfather's funeral came. Her grandmother, with a gesture that still stuns readers, locked Sharon and Kelly in the room with his body. Just the 2 of them. No words, no explanations, just silence and the lifeless figure of the man who stole so much from her. It was haunting, but in its strange way, it marked the end of something. The beginning of finally letting go of a past that had ruled her from the shadows. Still, life did not suddenly become lighter. Her father Joseph was shaped by hardship, and not always in the healthiest way. He ruled the house with control and bursts of anger. For Sharon, that meant more pain and more fear. His punishments were not just discipline. They were often harsher. She felt unsafe at school, at home, or even in her skin. But one day something inside her flipped. She was just 14 when she found the courage to speak back, to fight for herself. She stood in front of her father and said, "What is the matter? Do you need to hit me again to feel like a man?" The words hung in the air like a crack of thunder. He broke. He cried. And she finally let it out, telling him the truth she had been holding in her heart. That she did not love him. That she never had. That moment changed everything. He never raised a hand to any of them again. And even though the damage could not be erased, something had shifted. A small crack of light finally came through. For Sharon, school was the only place she could breathe a little. Books made sense. Equations, stories, facts, they did not yell or hurt or lie. But even in the classroom, she did not fully fit in. Kids teased her for being smart, using big words, and thinking differently. Know-it-all they called her. Weird. She was not trying to be better. She was trying to belong. But the truth is, she was never meant to fit into their boxes. She was meant to rise beyond them. Okay, so how do some people seem like they were born to be stars? That was not Sharon. Not even close. Growing up, she did not see herself as pretty at all. She used to call herself awkward and nerdy. While the other girls were busy flirting and picking out prom dresses, Sharon was the quiet one with her nose in a book, dreaming of getting out of her small town and doing something bigger. And by the time she was just 15, she had already finished high school. Like full-on graduated. She got into college early with a scholarship, which sounds impressive, right? But being the youngest in the room made her feel even more out of place. Everyone else was older and more confident, and she still felt like the invisible girl in the back of the class. She called herself the nerdy ugly duckling, and honestly, she believed it. But life did not stop throwing curveballs. At 14, she had this horrible accident trying to break in a horse. It went wild, and she ended up seriously injuring her neck. It was bad. Like life-altering bad. Not only did it leave her in pain, but it also made her feel even more isolated. Sometimes the world was too heavy, and she didn't know how to carry it all. So here she was, super bright, super driven, but stuck. Small town, big dreams, no clear way out. And then something unexpected happened. Someone convinced her to enter a local beauty pageant. I know it sounds like a total 180, right? But she did it. And to everyone's surprise, including her own, she won. That win definitely changed something in her. For the first time, she felt like she was worth looking at. Maybe there was something special about her. And before she knew it, doors started opening. Modeling agencies came calling, and the next thing you know, she is packing a suitcase and heading off to New York City with nothing but ambition and a dream. Now New York was not exactly welcoming. She got rejected a lot. But instead of quitting, she pushed harder. She practiced, studied, and learned how to work that camera like a pro. Eventually, the Ford modeling agency signed her, and suddenly her face was in magazines, billboards, and ads. She made it, or so she thought. Because here is the thing, modeling was fun, but it wasn't enough. Sharon didn't just want to be seen. She wanted to feel, to express. She wanted to tell stories, not just strike a pose. That is when she started thinking about acting. She went back to square one. Auditions, acting classes, bit parts. Her first movie role, she was an extra in the background. But she soaked it all up. She knew it was part of the process. And then in 1992, she landed the role that changed everything, Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct. That role was fierce. It was bold, and Sharon nailed it. People could not stop talking about her. Just like that, she went from that girl from Meadville to a full-blown Hollywood star. So Sharon made it. I mean really made it. From this quiet little town where she felt invisible all the way to Hollywood's flashing lights and madness. Her face was on movie posters, magazines, red carpets, everywhere. She had worked her butt off, and now the world finally saw what she had known deep down all along. She was meant for something bigger. But just because your career takes off doesn't mean everything else magically falls into place. And Sharon's love life, that was a whole journey of its own. Her first marriage happened back in 1984. She met Michael Greenberg on a film set. He was a TV producer, and things moved fast. It was one of those classic work turns into love situations. For a while, it worked. But as her career started to skyrocket, keeping that balance became harder and harder. You know how it goes. Different schedules, growing apart, life just pulling you in separate directions. By 1987, they had split. And Sharon was already learning one of life's hardest lessons: love and ambition don't always get along. But she didn't give up. She kept putting her heart out there. In the early 90s, she dated country singer Dwight Yoakam. That one was short but made headlines. He had that edgy cowboy charm, and people were into it. Then came William J. McDonald, a film producer she got pretty serious with. They were even engaged for a bit. It seemed promising, like maybe this was it. But sometimes life gets in the way, even when chemistry exists. They called it off in 1994. And just like that, another chapter ended. Then, just when things seemed to quiet down, she met Phil Bronstein in 1998. This one felt different. He wasn't from Hollywood. He was a journalist, calm, thoughtful, and outside of the chaos she was used to. They got married, and honestly, Sharon had finally found someone solid. 2 years in, they adopted a baby boy, Roan, and everything felt like it was lining up: love, family, a quieter kind of happiness. But behind the scenes, things weren't as perfect as they looked. The cracks started to show. Between her demanding career and marriage's regular ups and downs, it wasn't just about fame anymore. It was about trying to make a real life together. And that is never easy, no matter who you are. Still, what makes Sharon so relatable is that she tried. She didn't give up when things got messy. She believed in love, even when it hurt. And who hasn't been there? Hoping this time would be different, giving it your all, only to realize that sometimes love doesn't go as you imagined. But Sharon, she kept going. Always. In love, in life, in everything. But like with so many relationships, things slowly started to unravel. Sharon and Phil gave it their all, but by 2004, their marriage had ended. And as if a divorce wasn't hard enough, what followed was a brutal custody battle over their son Roan. It wasn't just something she read about in the tabloids, it was her real life unfolding under a spotlight. It crushed her. But here's the thing about Sharon, she never backed down when it came to being a mom. That love she had for Roan gave her strength she didn't even know she had. After the dust settled, she didn't close herself off from love. Not even close. Sharon kept her heart open, still hoping for something real. She got into a relationship with actor David Delucy for 2 years. Then in 2018, she was spotted with charming Italian real estate mogul Angelo Boffa. The chemistry was there. For a while, it looked like she was finally getting her happy ending. But as we all know, love isn't always simple. Sometimes, even when two people care, things don't work out. Those relationships ended too. And yes, they hurt. But Sharon, she kept going. What makes her so relatable is that she's loved and lost big, but she never let heartbreak turn her cold. She took those breakups and turned them into lessons. She learned how to stand taller and how to love herself better. And even after everything, she still believes in love. She does. That takes guts? But when things seemed to be settling down, she was healing, parenting, staying hopeful, life hit her with something she never saw coming. In 2001, Sharon had a stroke. Not just a mild one. This was serious. It came out of nowhere. A brain hemorrhage that lasted 9 days. Doctors gave her a 1% chance to survive. 1%. Can you even imagine? One day she's at the top of her career, red carpets, movie sets, the works, and the next she can't walk, talk, or recognize parts of herself. She lost feeling in her leg, her vision blurred, and her speech was affected. She had to relearn everything from talking to walking to writing her name. It was like starting over. And just when she needed the world to have her back, it didn't. Hollywood moved on. Calls stopped coming in. The work dried up. To make it worse, she had to fight for custody again, this time while trying to recover from a stroke. But somehow she pushed through. Slowly, painfully, quietly, she fought like hell to get her life back. And bit by bit, she did. It's wild, but her story isn't about fame and red carpets. It's about real, raw survival. The kind that so many go through but not everyone talks about. Sharon's journey proves you can get back up even when life knocks you flat. Maybe not the same, not easily, but stronger, wiser, and with a whole lot more compassion. And that's what makes her story not just inspiring but incredibly human. So how did she do it? How did Sharon Stone turn her biggest challenge into something that would change lives worldwide? Let's rewind a bit. Way before her stroke, Sharon was already showing signs of that big-hearted take-action energy. In 1991, when her sister Kelly had a serious leg injury, the two of them co-founded Planet Hope. It is a non-profit that helps homeless families, giving them support, dignity, and a fighting chance. And after that, she just kept going. She became a massive voice in the fight against HIV and AIDS, not just showing up for events but raising serious money for research. In 2005, Harvard gave her a humanitarian award recognizing how deeply committed she was. That same year, she traveled to Israel and stood beside Shimon Peres, a Nobel Peace Prize winner she called her mentor. She was not just talking about peace, she was living it. Fast forward to 2015 when she was honored in Milan with the Pelogio Building Peace Award. Instead of just giving a nice thank you speech, Sharon flipped the script. She started an impromptu auction right then and there and raised enough money to build 28 schools in Africa. No script, no prep, just heart. And she has not stopped there. Sharon has advocated for LGBTQ+ rights, volunteered to help with disaster relief, and raised her voice for issues ranging from animal welfare to education. The more life throws at her, the louder she speaks up for others. Sharon's story inspires us not only because she survived something traumatic but also because she turned survival into a mission. She reminds us that you can still make something beautiful from the pieces, even after your world falls apart. Her journey of giving did not go unnoticed. In 2013, Sharon was awarded the Peace Summit Award, a recognition that spoke volumes about her heart. This was not about box office numbers or red carpet appearances. It was about lives touched, voices lifted, and causes embraced. From championing HIV/AIDS awareness to building a better future for children and underserved communities, Sharon had become a force far beyond Hollywood. But while she poured her soul into healing the world, one question lingered quietly in the background. Had love ever shown up for her the way she showed up for everyone else? Sharon Stone confirms the rumors about dating. Sharon has never been one to hide behind a polished image or carefully rehearsed lines, not on screen and certainly not in her personal life. She is refreshingly honest and raw, even when dating in today's swipe-driven world. Like many people, Sharon dipped her toes into the chaotic waters of online dating. You might think being a world-famous actress would make it easier, but she quickly found out it is just as messy for her as it is for the rest of us. In a candid 2024 interview with The Times, she revealed how surreal and frustrating it can be. One story stood out. A man she matched with showed up looking nothing like his photos, not a little different, completely unrecognizable. She laughed about it, but the message underneath was clear. Even in love, nothing comes easy. Still, Sharon does not play games. I go on as myself, she said. It is not like I can fake it. That simple statement says everything about who she is. She has lived enough to know the value of honesty and the pain from pretense. And then came the moment that could only happen to someone like Sharon Stone. She got banned from Bumble. Yes, really. In 2019, the app flagged her profile as a fake because users could not believe it was her. It is funny in hindsight but also strangely poetic. Here is a woman who spent her life trying to show her authentic self only to be kicked off a dating app for being too real. Even so, she has not let the weirdness of online romance sour her spirit. Sharon remains open, grounded, and hopeful. Like in everything she has done, from overcoming a stroke to championing global causes, she approaches love with grace, grit, and signature honesty. Because for Sharon, whether it is activism, acting, or affection, it has always been about showing up authentically. And that might be her most incredible love story of all. So here is where things took a weird turn. Sharon finally gives online dating a try. What happens? Bumble bans her. Yes, they shut down her account. Why? Because users kept reporting her profile as fake. I mean, can you blame them? Most people could not believe Sharon Stone was seriously on a dating app. But instead of getting mad, she did what Sharon does best. She spoke up. She tweeted, "I went on at Bumble and they closed my account. Some users reported it could not possibly be me. Hey at Bumble, is me being exclusionary?" It was sharp, funny, and on brand. That tweet blew up and Bumble quickly apologized and returned her profile. But still, the whole thing showed how tricky it can be even for someone famous to do something as simple as looking for love. The truth is, Sharon has never been into the whole hookup culture thing. She said it herself. She is not looking for something shallow. At one point, she even admitted, "I did not want to just go on Tinder and find somebody. It is not hard." And let's be real, that hits home for many people these days. Finding something real can feel nearly impossible. And after giving dating a shot for years, Sharon finally reached a point where she said, "You know what, I am good." In a 2020 interview on the Drew Barrymore show, she said, "I am done dating. I have had it with dating. I find people to be insincere and not worth my time." That is not bitterness. That is a woman setting boundaries and knowing her worth. Now, instead of chasing romance, Sharon is pouring her energy into what matters. Raising her kids, staying close to friends, and doing things that bring her joy. And honestly, that is something a lot of us can learn from.